L'chaim velivrocho. To life and to blessings. Life and blessings. Life is a blessing. A blessing is life. Today is the 20th day of Cheshvan. It's the day that the fifth Lubavitch Rebbe, Rabbi Shalom Dov Ber, who passed away in 1920, born in 1860. That's many, many years ago. He was born on this day. How many people, after passing away 125 years ago, is their birthday being celebrated? Wow. That's a unique individual. Many of us don't have, God forbid, anyone to celebrate a birthday today, if you have one today, or this year. And here we're talking about a person who passed away 125 years ago, who was born 165 years ago. And people are celebrating and saying L'chaim in honor of his birthday. It's a pretty powerful thought. Now, of course, he's a Rebbe. The fifth Chabad Lubavitch Rebbe, who his teachings, of course, as his great-great-grandfather, this is his great-great-grandfather, right? Our teacher was his great-great-grandfather. Being a Rebbe, he's the first Chabad Rebbe, and he's the fifth. So their teachings is an expression of them. Through the teachings, you have a piece of them. You don't have a piece just of their wisdom. Albert Einstein, if you understand his teachings, or a therapist that writes a book and you understand their teachings, right? You have their wisdom, but I wouldn't say you have a piece of them. Piece of their wisdom. But the teachings of a Rebbe, you have them. They are godly. And therefore you have godliness part of you. It's a very empowering and beautiful idea. I want to just give a shout out to Jerry, whose father at 94 just passed away 2 days ago. May his soul go from strength to strength. And your birthday is tomorrow. Look at that. All right. Wow. Okay. So that's like a bittersweet. Father just passes away, and now you have a birthday. All right. Only joyous occasions. So we continue in the 29th letter. In this letter, we spoke yesterday about reincarnation, how every soul needs to come and create garments that are protecting 613 components of the soul. And you have to do each mitzvah. Some mitzvahs we don't have today to do. So when you learn about it, kind of create that garment too. Why do you need to create that garment? It's because the divine light of God is so powerful, so sweet, so pleasant, that the soul, when it leaves this world and goes to Gan Eden, it's a Garden of Eden, it has divine pleasure of of God, of that pleasantness, of that sweetness, that pleasurable thirst, delighting in God. The only problem is that light is too powerful. It's like, a sunny day that the sun is shining and it's too powerful for you to see. So what do you need? You need something to filter the light. You wear sunglasses, right? That's like a garment for the eyes. Sunglasses. My glasses turn to sunglasses on a sunny day to protect my eyes. That's a garment of sorts, right? We won't call that a garment, we call it sunglasses, right? But it's the concept of a garment. So likewise, the soul needs garments in order that it can appropriately get from the sunlight of God in Gan Eden, because that light is too powerful. Right? What is the garb? What is the garment that we create? We create it for our soul. We make that garment. How? By doing the mitzvah. Doing the mitzvah creates that garment that allows us to have pleasure from the divine. 400 worlds of longing, yes, which is connected with this week's Parsha and the 400 shekel that Abraham gave to no, come to me in a moment, that he purchased the the cave of the Machpelah to bury Sarah, the burial place, right? Now, so that means by doing the mitzvah, which the mitzvah is the supernal will of God, right? Folks, give me just a moment. Sorry, apologies. Okay. Sorry. Hi. We have snow on the ground here. Some people are excited and others not, like everything in life. We don't have the sun right now. Okay. So by fulfilling the will of God, which is the mitzvah, you gain the pleasure of the divine. Let's explain that in us, in our soul. We all want something. Why do you want what you want? What compels you to want something? Put it into one word: pleasure. This gives you pleasure, therefore you want it. What you don't want is pain, right? But what you do want is pleasure. Why do you want pleasure? Just because. So pleasure is greater than will. It compels your will to want that which you want. And sometimes, you might do something that brings you, you exercise very strongly and it's hard, it's difficult, it might be even painful. It's not pleasure, but it's the pleasure that you have afterwards that, you won the gold medal or just that you achieve something, whatever it is. That pleasure is what's compelling you to have a will to work hard, at whatever it is, right? Is that clear? I hope. So the same thing is with God. The divine delight of God is what compels him to have a will. What's that will? The mitzvah. So the external expression of the divine in this, from this perspective, is the will of God. The internal and more powerful is the pleasure of God, supernal delight, right? That supernal delight is what the soul gets in the Garden of Eden, at least a ray of it. But what gets you there, right, is the fulfillment of the divine will, the mitzvah, which becomes that garment that now you can have that pleasure. Very powerful. A lofty idea. Now, by God, we're talking, by us, we can differentiate between pleasure and will and, our intelligence, emotions, and so on. By God, it's all one. We're a compound. We're not a perfect unity, right? We're a compound of different things. That's why we get complicated. That's why we can be, not aligned with the inner truth, with the divine truth, because we're a compound. And sometimes you make compounds mix together and creates an explosion rather than something wholesome and good and healthy. That's the idea of a compound. But God isn't that way. God is one simplistic whole oneness. So even though we speak about divine pleasure with divine will and so on, from God's perspective, it just is of Him in a simplistic whole oneness. Now, we can't speak about it that way because we're not that way and we don't really get it that way. We have to speak in human terms. In human terms, we understand that, oh, the pleasure of coffee brings a will in me that compels me, right, to then seek out the coffee, right? Not certain about the pleasure in that exactly. Maybe the pleasure in that, that it gives me a wake-up call. Okay. Whatever it is. In any case, so that's the ideal. So we have the inner that produces the external. The inner is the pleasure that produces an external expression, which is a will. for something. Okay, I hope that's clear. Any questions, any comments, any thoughts? Powerful ideas over here. That's where, bring this all together. Anybody have a birthday? Let us know. Or something else that's important to you. There, may your Father be well. No, he says follow the Torah. He doesn't follow. Follow the Torah, what God's will is. God's will is in the Torah. There's no other place where God's will is in any fashion. Might be some people's will, right? A lot of people, we all have a will. We all want something, right? Not all of us want divine pleasure. Some of us want something else in life. And therefore that produces a will, which is, hey, that's human. But don't call it divine. Don't call it divine. There's only one thing that's divine, and that's the Torah that God gave to 2.5 million people at the foot of Mount Sinai. And that's God's only revelation of himself to the masses of a people that has been handed down from generation to generation. These are the teachings. And, everybody else, anybody else, not everybody else, anybody else who has their agenda, that they believe that there's some, other things that they want to espouse over here, is not the place. This is a place to come and learn Tanya. And please respect that. And if you can't respect that, then obviously you don't respect God. You don't even respect yourself then. And that would be a crying shame. And the politics is also not for here. Okay. Is Tanya part of the revelation at Mount Sinai? Yes, because you see, what's very important. Thank you for that question. What's very important is that see, the Tanya, or the Talmud for that matter. Give me a few moments. Right. The Tanya is based on Torah teachings. It's not the Alter Rebbe's own ideas. And the proof, he has to bring proof text from the Torah to show that it is, in fact, teachings that are based on the Torah. Without that, it's invalid. That's an important, very important, thing to recognize. So therefore, yes, it's part of the revelation that was at Mount Sinai. Absolutely. All right, folks. Rambam coming up. Thank you.